Hi there, my name's Erin and I'm a personal trainer from Sydney, Australia. I run a gym in Sydney and we have a really big emphasis on postnatal women and training them safely post-baby. So when we talk about postnatal, we're not just talking about 6 weeks postnatal, we're also talking about 16 years as well. So anything and everything. If you've had a baby, no matter how old your child is, you are postnatal. So what I'm going to go through today is talk to you a little bit about your pelvic floor and your abdominals and how we activate them and why it's important post-baby, okay? So I'll go through now the basics of your pelvic floor and your deep abdominals, and then we're going to go through how to actually engage these muscles, and you're going to follow along with me. So you have 4 layers of tummy muscles, believe it or not. You have a layer that sits on top called your rectus abdominals, okay? And that is essentially the six-pack, okay? So layer on top, rectus abdominals, okay? Then you've got what's called your external obliques, and these sit around just the outside here. You also have internal obliques that kind of sit underneath as well. Then underneath that, you've got your deepest layer of tummy muscles called your transverse abdominals. They wrap all the way from the back to the front. This is like a corset that wraps around your body and really is the foundation to your core. So transverse abdominals. We're going to call it TA for short. So they're your 4 layers of tummy muscles. Underneath that, that's where you've got your pelvic floor. So your pelvic floor sits in the base of your pelvis, and this is where all your organs sit, okay? So if you have a weakened pelvic floor, this means that your organs aren't really going to be supported, and the most common issue we see in women is incontinence. So your bladder is not supported, so you're going to see leakage, whether you cough, laugh, or sneeze. Any form of leakage is not normal, and that's where we highly recommend you see a women's health physio to do a full assessment. So what we're going to think about today is your core, but your core not being the superficial six-pack and obliques. Guys, these muscles work all the time. They keep us upright. They help us twist. What we don't focus enough on is the TA and the pelvic floor. So the beauty of the pelvic floor and the TA is like they're best mates. They work together. So if you can get a pelvic floor lift, you will then also be able to get a transverse abdominal activation as well. So most of us don't even know that these TA muscles exist. So you can imagine if you're not consciously activating pelvic floor, TA, and you're just focusing on these top superficial muscles because they're the ones we can see. Guys, I've been a trainer for a long time. I've never had a six-pack in my life, okay? And I've had 2 kids. It's definitely not going to happen for me. But what's important is I'm able to actually engage these TA and transverse abdominals because, as I said, you could have the strongest six-pack in the world, but the weakest pelvic floor and also a weak TA is going to lead to really bad back pain. It can even lead to things like hernias. So when we think about core, we're just focusing on pelvic floor lifting up, TA wrapping across like a corset. So when you've had a baby, all these muscles stretch out and out and out, right? We have this line that runs down from the top to the bottom, this connective tissue called the linea alba. You might see a dark line as your pregnancy progresses. This connective tissue becomes weakened to allow room for baby, okay? After we've had baby, these muscles, often on their own, will contract back down. But most of the time, we need help. Okay, and this is where you'll hear about separation, abdominal separation. So you could have, a 2, 3, 4, 5 centimeter gap here, okay? And then you've also got depth in that separation as well. So if you imagine, if all you focus on is 100 crunches, okay, and you're getting this sort of top muscle strong, If you push into that separation, it's going to be floppy. It's going to be super soft. There's going to be no integrity there. So essentially your core is not strengthening. Also, you may notice that your tummy sticks out a bit. A lot of women will say, I still look, 4 months pregnant, a year down the track. This is most likely because those TA muscles are super soft. They just kind of hang out. Therefore, they push out. So it does give you that appearance of a little bit of a tummy. So the only way you really are going to know about this is if you get a full assessment from a women's health physio, but you can also assess that yourself. So I'm going to show you how you can assess for separation. Then I'm going to go through how we actually engage these muscles, pelvic floor, TA, and then show you a couple of exercises that you can do, okay? So let's come down and lie on your back. Beautiful. Okay, so lying on your back, okay? First of all, just make sure you're nice and relaxed, okay? We don't want to be all sort of clenched up like this. So nice and relaxed, and pop one hand behind your head to support your neck, okay? We have 3 layers we want to check with your abdominals. Up high, okay, just below the sternum. We're also going to check just above your belly button and just below the belly button. These are 3 points where we may notice separation. Normally, the biggest part of separation is around your belly button, okay? So lying flat, press 2 fingers into that sternum position and then do a little crunch. Can you feel a gap there? You should be able to feel something if there is. If it feels pretty flat and there's no sort of divot, there's no separation, okay? If you can turn your fingers sideways and push through 2 or 3 fingers, this is something to note, okay? And relax. Now let's go down to the belly button, okay? So just above the belly button. Same thing, little crunch, press in. Can you fit 2, 3, or 1 finger in that gap? Okay, make note of that as well. And relax. And then below the belly button, crunch up. Again, notice if you can feel a gap, 1, 2, or 3 fingers. Okay, I'm going to come out now. So if you notice more than 2 centimeters, I highly recommend that you see a women's health physio. They can fully assess this for you. Not only are they going to look at the gap, they're going to look at the depth of that separation. And this is where they'll use some real-time ultrasound to really guide you with how to activate those muscles properly, which I'm going to show you now. So if this doesn't make sense or you don't quite get it, totally fine. See the women's health physio. They will take you through it in far, far more detail using that real-time ultrasound. Okay? So let's lie on our back. First of all, we're going to engage your pelvic floor muscles, okay? So just pop your hand across your tummy, okay? Pop hands like that, and make sure you're nice and relaxed. So many women clench their butt cheeks or they're sucking in all the time. Just let it all hang out. Let everything relax, okay? From this position, all I want you to do is a pelvic floor activation. So squeezing those pelvic floor muscles, front or back passage, whatever works for you. So squeezing them, and then releasing them. It's so important you can feel the release as much as you can feel the contraction. So just making sure you do have that connection with your pelvic floor, activating, releasing. Your tummy isn't bracing, you shouldn't be sucking in, tummy should stay nice and soft, and butt muscles aren't clenching either, they're also staying nice and soft. If you're able to contract and let go, fantastic. Now let's find those TA muscles. So find your hip bones, okay? Go down an inch and in about an inch. If you're like me and you've had a C-section, you're kind of hitting the outskirts of that C-section scar, okay? So really press in quite hard. From here, let's do the same pelvic floor activation you just did. So activate and release. Can you feel a little muscle contraction underneath your fingertips? If you can't, that's totally fine and completely normal. What I want you to do is imagine these 2 points either trying to draw together like a magnet, or it's like you're trying to tighten a low slung belt, okay? lost you for a second. So lying in that position there, nice and relaxed, do your pelvic floor squeeze, and then imagine those 2 points trying to draw together like a magnet, or it's like you're trying to tighten a low slung belt, and relax. Activate and relax. If you can't feel anything under your fingertips, don't worry, practice this. It is a complete mind-muscle connection. You really have to concentrate and really focus on it. I get my clients to do this at the start of every single session. So we're lying on our back, we're nice and relaxed, our muscles are nice and fresh. We activate, release, activate, release. We then work on time. We might hold for 5 seconds, release. We aim for 10 seconds, up to 15 seconds, about 5 to 10 reps, whatever you can do. So when you're going to do your core work, remember, we're not focusing on these superficial muscles. We're focusing on your pelvic floor and TA. I want you guys to try a plank just on your elbows and your knees whilst engaging those TA muscles, okay? So I want you to draw in that pelvic floor. Imagine those TA muscles are on and just hold for a few seconds. Now what I want you to do is let go of it. How different does that feel? Completely different. So engage the pelvic floor, that's it, activate, and then release it. So when you're doing your core work, so anything like a plank, even small little crunches, if you do things like dead bugs, or even things like heel drops, alternating, I want you to always do a pelvic floor activation before every single rep, okay? Same with a dead bug, and you will really feel the difference in your core. You're also strengthening your pelvic floor. You're really helping the TA, those deep layer of tummy muscles. So it's all about building those foundations from the inside out. I hope this was helpful for you. It's something you will really have to practice. And just remember, if you want to take this a step further, if you're not quite getting it, you're not quite sure if you're doing it right, I highly recommend reaching out to a women's health physio. They are experts at this. They're the eyes on the inside, and they will completely guide you on how to do this. But definitely give it a go. You will not regret it. It's one of the best things you can incorporate into your exercise routine. All right, take care.